Hi friends, this is Caitlin and today I'm sharing with you another platform pop-up card. This one didn't quite go according to plan though. So this is a bit of a brand mashup today. I'm pairing the Fawn platform pop-up with some dies from Simon Says Stamp, as well as a bunch of pattern paper, dies, and stamps from my favorite things. As always, I'll have all of the items I used today listed in that description box below for you. But before we get started, I just wanted to explain, sometimes, most of the time, I make cards to share with you guys just because I want to make something or I really want to use a product that I have, or try a technique. But this one I actually made out of necessity. This card is going to a very special girl in our family who is turning 18 this week, and I really wanted to make a card that was really fun and vibrant and would make her smile. So I decided to make one of these cards, and while I'm die cutting, I just want to remind you, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet to join our crafty family, it would mean so much to me if you would do so, and that way you never miss any fun card inspiration on a Friday. So I did die cut two of the big platform pieces, one from each of those 6x6 pattern papers. And you can see I'm saving some of those scraps over on the side. I'm going to be using one of those later on to create one of the little tiers that we will attach our sentiment to. And then we're going to cut it apart anyway. So this whole card definitely didn't go the way I wanted it to, or was planning on it going at least. I love how it turned out, and that is why I'm still sharing it with you. But I've said before, I feel really passionately about sharing. You know, when the process doesn't go the way that you planned or things don't go as easy as we'd like, it's really easy on the internet to edit those things out or just not share them. And I think that that can set us up for some really unrealistic goals or ideas about what crafting and card making look like. So I wanted to share some of the twists and turns that went into making this card with you today and just kind of be honest and transparent. So I did start by scoring all of the fold marks on my platform pop-up. Now I'm trimming off that scrap piece because, as I said, I'm going to use that and then those two grassy pieces to be kind of my anchors where I'm attaching all of the parts of my card together. I'm cutting 3 of those T pieces. One is actually a little short, but you end up trimming the tab off the bottom of it anyway, so that was totally perfect and I didn't end up with any extra waste. And then I die cut out the little stitched rectangle there, and I'm going to be adding in 2 of these itty bitty celebration stamps from my favorite things. One says Happy You Day and the other one says Make a Wish, and I just thought these were absolutely adorable. I think that's a really nice way to add a little bit of something extra to the card. And I just love the fresh white and black up against all of those other colors. So now I am die cutting out my giant sentiment that I wanted to use. This is the shadow layer, and I actually cut it out of a scrap piece of embossed paper that I had. I used the Pink and Main grid embossing folder on that piece and then decided not to use it for a card that I was making. So I decided to use it to cut my shadow layer out, and then I cut the words for my happy birthday sentiment out of a really pretty glitter pink cardstock that I had left over from an old Halloween paper pack, and it's just like the perfect pink to go with this pattern paper. So now I'm assembling my platform pop-up. You attach the little tab there to the platform and then kind of fold it up to the next level and attach it there, and you make those, you know, both of them and then connect them together. I do have another video on how I make my platform pop-up where I went into a little more detail for that process. If you want to check it out, I will link it down below for you. But also know that Fawn has amazing process videos on how to use their interactive dies. I watch them every time I make one of their cards or interactive cards, so I highly recommend you do as well. There's definitely no shame in going back to watch them. I literally watched it while I was making this one today just so that I knew I wouldn't mess anything up. They're absolutely amazing. Kelly is so good. at explaining the process, and Shari and all of the people over there. I love their videos and absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend. But also, once you make one of these platform pop-ups once, it's still helpful to have those videos as a reminder, just so you make sure that your little T-shaped pieces are kind of facing the right way. But besides that, they really do go together so easily, and they are kind of hard to mess up. One time I made one that I didn't put on the internet, and I flipped those T-shapes around, and it's not as smooth, but it definitely still pops up. So I really don't think you can ruin it, even if you tried. But I am taking that little rectangle and I am adhering it right to the front. And I thought about adding more decorations to that, but I decided just to kind of leave it clean because there's so much going on the rest of this card by the time we're done. So I'm taking some 1/8 inch score tape and I'm using that to adhere that extra rainbow piece. So if depending on the decorations that you're using, this could definitely be inspiration to someone for whatever they're making. But with how big the sentiment is and how big my decorations are going to be, it actually ended up being a little too short and too close to my card base, that once I had all the decorations on, you really couldn't read the happy birthday the way I wanted it to look. And so I ended up cutting this off and adding a much higher, taller piece of paper back there. But if you were using like little critters or teeny tiny flowers, or honestly if you just wanted to leave it like this, it would be so cute. I love the way that it looks like this, but the whole point was I really wanted to use these large flowers that didn't even seem that large at the time, but I wanted to use them and some rhinestone cool like glittery centers to decorate, and they were just too tall for this little platform. So just know that you can use a smaller piece like this if you want, you know, it to be closer to your platform, or as we will do at the end, you can add a way bigger piece of paper there and really have your sentiment stand up super high off of your platform. So it is cool to see the different ways you could customize this and kind of use it for whatever you want. So I hope that inspires you at least. Hopefully my mistakes can inspire you to, you know, not only think outside the box and try something different and not just get discouraged if it doesn't go the way you want, but also, you know, maybe one of these versions is what you want, and that'll help inspire you too. So I'm using these really, really cute little flowers from Simon Says Stamp, and I die cut the bigger petals out of a yellow polka dot. I cut the smaller flower petals out of this pink knit pattern, and then my leaves are out of a green knit as well. And I just love how all of the different colors coordinate from my favorite things across different pattern paper packs. So like the pink and the green from the knit are the same pink and green shades that they use in the stripes, and I just love how you can mix and match and get different textures. So I am using some Studio Katia clear acetate to help support some of my flowers as well, just so that I could glue them a lot easier. Because the grass pieces are so short, I didn't want the weight of those rhinestone centers I'm adding to kind of pull down on the grass or make them floppy. So a little square of clear acetate glued onto the grass as well, and then I'm using that score tape to adhere my flowers so that I wouldn't have to worry about waiting for glue to dry, and then kind of just placing them where I thought it looked pretty. So I did the first one, I obviously sped up, but I super sped up the ones that came after this. So I didn't want to leave them out, just so you could kind of see the process and how I kind of look in between each one to see where it makes sense for the next one to go and kind of where they should overlap. But I also didn't want us to be here all day watching me glue the same flowers together over and over. So definitely editing this was an interesting one. I really thought I was going to be able to knock this card out in like 45 minutes. In real time it took about an hour and 15 minutes. So also know that if you are someone who takes a while to make a single card, you are not alone. I find that that happens to me quite often. And you know, it's all just part of the process. So some cards come together super quick and easy. Some cards need a little more love and attention, and there's nothing wrong with that. To fill out the areas around my flowers, I am taking some of the like floral wreathy branches from that die set that I cut from that green knit, and I'm just cutting the leaves apart so I can kind of place them around the flowers, and at the very end I put some on the background just to kind of fill up some space. I like that the knit kind of blends in a little bit with the grass. I think it just helps it to look, not that these look natural at all, but look a little bit more natural or organic kind of in the way that the whole thing flows together at least. So you can see I added in some smaller flowers with just the yellow smaller petals using those same rhinestone glitter things. And then this is when I decided there just wasn't enough room between my flowers and my sentiment. So I went ahead and I chopped that right off, fussy cut around the bottom of my shadow layer, and then I'm just taking some white cardstock and adding it there. And then I'm going to adhere the front of my shadow, and I cut a second shadow panel out of another piece of white thick cardstock just so it would hold up really nicely and it wouldn't kind of flap around or bend easily. So then I decided, of course, that there was too much space, right, between my sentiment and my platform. I felt like I literally just couldn't win with this one. So I cut up another flower. I die cut another flower, I should say, and I made that, and I left that one whole where some of the other ones I trimmed some of the edges off, and I adhered that with one of the bigger leafy pieces. And then after I finished filming, again in full transparency with you, I went back in and added one more of those leafy pieces over to the right hand side under the words, just because again it felt like there was kind of a bald empty spot there. So when I tell you, I know that nothing went wrong. I wasn't close to throwing this out at any point, which I know I've talked about. You know, sometimes I get in that headspace where I just want to scrap the whole project. This one didn't go that badly, but I just wanted to share that kind of in the heat of the moment, don't be afraid to kind of make a change and go in a different direction than you thought, or undo something that you've done. And then, you know, you don't have to start the whole thing over, right? I didn't have to throw my whole platform away. I just kind of trimmed out the piece that I wanted to move and made it work. And I'm sure that the recipient is absolutely going to love it. She will have no idea that all of this craziness and changing things went into making her card. She'll just know that it's pretty and that I was thinking about her for her birthday. So I hope that this kind of inspires you to, you know, try something a little different. Don't be afraid to manipulate or personalize your interactive pieces, or any pieces for that matter, right? Like I used die cuts in a different way than they were intended. I used, you know, made my own layers for the platform. So I just hope that you have a nice reminder today that card making is meant to be fun and it's supposed to help spark your creativity. So don't get too wrapped up in the details, and don't mentally bash yourself if things go a little differently than planned. So I do hope that you're feeling super inspired to go play in your stash, and I hope that you have an amazing week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and as always, happy crafting.